last time I was at the workshop, I spoke to you about my chronic fatigue and my hook into people needing their approval.
And how much you're desiring, you're willing to sacrifice your entire life almost for their approval.
Well, I have in the past.
Of course you have, yeah. Yep.
Now I sort of feel like I'm being physically attacked sometimes by spirits because I have days when I just deteriorate so dramatically and so quickly.
Yep.
It's scaring me. But I'm confused what the hook is into them. Like, what do they get from me?
Okay, well, let's draw what's happening for you. How's that? So here's Elvira. Sorry about the dress, Elvira. Right. You, because of a certain emotional condition, so if you imagine if you had no emotional injuries at all, what would happen is you would have a nice, smooth, what people call an aura, but it's really actually a smooth, protective barrier around yourself. So no person would be able to hook into any emotion that you have and draw from you, and you wouldn't be able to hook into anyone else's emotion either or draw from them in that state because you'll also be loving. Right? Now, as soon as you have an emotional injury, then there's a crack or a hole in that aura or that field, if you like, of protection around yourself. And the more emotional injuries we have, the more cracks there are, if you like, into ourselves. So you can imagine it like these are sort of like almost energy vortexes now, and that's how they actually look to the spirits. There's energy vortexes that through those cracks enter certain parts of our body. Does that make sense? And any spirit or any person, so it doesn't matter whether the person's in the spirit world, right, or on earth, so if they're here on earth next to you, they can draw from energy from you as a result of those cracks. So what's happening for yourself quite frequently now is that you're trying to see, oh, well, I've got something going on with this person on earth, and I've got something going on with that person on earth, and you're trying to at least address some of those things that you've got going on with the people on earth. But the problem is there's all these spirits that surround you. And these spirits also know every one of those cracks, right? And they will attempt to draw your energy from you wherever they can. That's their desire. And their desires are all based around what they want out of the interaction. And then your allowance of it is about what you want from the interaction or what you allow from the interaction. You see, a lot of times we don't want something specifically, but we feel like we have to give it. So something that's happened in your life a lot, for example, with women, is that you feel like you've got to do things for them no matter what they're demanding from you. So that's one of the emotional holes, if you like. So if I was a woman in the spirit world, I would see that hole and I'd go, all I've got to do is pressurise Elvira a bit and she'll automatically allow me to draw from her emotionally. Right?
What emotion do they get from me? Like, I don't understand. That has always confused me about what it is that spirits can conceivably get.
Well, one emotion they get from you is your fear. In other words, they can project something at you, like be nasty towards you, and they feel you go afraid, and they like that. Because what that does is it gives them a feeling that they're more powerful than you. Does that make sense? It gives them a feeling that they're in control of you. So some of the spirits who are around you are addicted to your fear. They like seeing you afraid. They like seeing you feel like scared for your life, in fact. Right? And if you think about the last few weeks in particular, you can feel some of that fear. When you start getting quite ill, you can feel that almost that fear for your life almost kicking in as well. And that's what they love to see happen to you. They love you being afraid for your life. It makes them feel powerful and in control of you. And some of them laugh at that and some of them are condescending towards that. Others are actually just quite vicious, and they just like to have that feeling of power over you. Does that make sense?
So I need to go into the fear of that.
The fear that you might die, that is one of the fears they're playing upon. Does that make sense? The fear, you have a number of other fears. Fears about embracing a desirous life, a life of desire. Does that make sense? So you think back over your life, every time desire has come along, you've almost been in two minds. Because, or if I could say it more like what it really is, you really have two feelings that are almost opposing each other. One is, I would love to follow that desire. The other is, I'm scared as hell about that desire, about following that desire and where that's going to lead me. And so what they do is they manipulate you through your fear. So fear is a big part of what they're doing with you. They cause you to become so afraid that you're willing to give to them yourself almost, energy-wise, you're willing to give yourself to them just to prevent their fear, prevent their rage towards you or their anger towards you.
And it's the resistance to feeling that fear that is allowing them to draw the energy from you. So when you soften into the fear and you just let yourself feel how terrified you are that they're going to attack you and harm you or reject you heavily, like a lot of the approval addiction is about just avoiding the horrible ostracism that you fear. If you can soften into the fear, then it feels scary, but you'll still have your energy.
Yeah.
It's the resistance to the fear that's causing the draining.
So the key thing to remember is that every time you resist the actual fear emotion, which is something that you've done most of your life, and you began to do it, you were taught how to do it from your childhood, but you've been doing it most of your life now. So it's a pattern that has been built up over your life. And as you start stepping into your fear, you'll find spirits and others can hurt you less, actually. Most of us are afraid that with fear, if we step into our fear, people are about to harm us more, right? So most of us think that we're going to get harmed more, we'll be more open and more vulnerable and all these things. So we worry so much about that we resist our fears. But the irony is that when you feel your fear, the hole that allows somebody else to control your fear gets patched up. Does that make sense? So when you feel your own fear, the irony is the hole that allows somebody else to control your fear is no longer present in that moment. And so in that moment, you can no longer be influenced by the external person. It's about having a loyalty to the truth in a lot of ways. Like once we have this loyalty to the truth, where fear does not become the dominant thing controlling our lives anymore. And what's happening for yourself is that fear is quite a dominant part of control, and so that's open. And now anybody who basically, to control you, all somebody really needs to do is tell you that you're a bad person, that you've done bad things in your life and you should be ashamed of yourself, and a few other things like that, or even like less blunt than that, in this interaction you're not being nice to me, and all of a sudden you will feel like you've done the wrong thing and have to be nice. Does that make sense? So because of that, they're sort of manipulating the fear that you have of being disapproved of, and they're manipulating that through that opening, and now they really have control. All they've got to do is make a few suggestions to you that you're bad and you're this and you're that, and all of a sudden you'll try harder, give more, which is what the problem is. This is what causes the chronic fatigue, is the desire to give more and more and more and more to placate the fear that you can't feel inside of yourself.